Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wicked Wednesday, where we discover and uncover terrifying encounters. So, today, before you step onto an empty dock swimming, before you dive into water so dark you can't see the bottom, before you answer a voice calling your name from somewhere beneath the surface, remember this: not every monster hides in the darkness. Some hide beneath perfectly still water, waiting, silent, and patient, watching every ripple and watching every reflection, and waiting for the moment fear outweighs reason. I'm BM Video Master, and today we uncover another terrifying page from the Fear Keeper's archives. A fear that has haunted sailors, swimmers, and divers, and anyone who has ever stared into deep water and wondered, what's looking back? Its name is Abyssus. So dim the lights, lock your doors, and if you hear water dripping somewhere inside your home, don't be too quick to investigate, because Wicked Wednesday begins now. For as long as humans have lived beside rivers, lakes, and oceans, people have feared what lies beneath the surface. Not the waves, not the rain, but the endless darkness below, the place where sunlight disappears. People say the ocean keeps its secrets, and it's a place where your own heartbeat is the loudest thing you can hear. The Fear Keeper believes those secrets are alive because every person who has ever slipped beneath the water, or even every desperate hand reaching toward the surface, every final breath swallowed by the depths, feeds something ancient, something that learned to imitate hope, something that learned to wait. That something became Abyssus. The first known encounter happened centuries ago. A fishing village stood beside a lake so calm that travelers often stopped just to admire it. The villagers had one rule: never go near the shoreline after sunset. No one would explain why. They would simply say, the lake listens after dark. One autumn evening, a young fisherman ignored the warning. He believed the stories were nothing more than old superstitions, carried his lantern to the dock, and prepared his boat. The lake was perfectly still, not a single ripple. Then he heard his mother call his name. He turned. No one stood behind him. The voice came again, gentle, familiar, only this time it came from the water. He stepped closer. The surface reflected the moon like polished glass. Then the reflection changed. Inside of his own face, he saw his mother, standing beneath the water. Her eyes were open, her lips moved slowly. She whispered, "Come home." The fisherman took one more step. His lantern slipped into the lake. The light vanished beneath the surface, and so did he. The next morning, his boat was still tied to the dock. His footprints stopped at the water's edge. He was never seen again. Years later, another encounter would be recorded. Four college friends rented a cabin beside an isolated mountain lake. It was supposed to be a weekend of fishing, campfires, and swimming. The first day was perfect. The second day, things changed. One friend noticed there were no birds or nothing chirping. Another realized there were no insects buzzing around the shoreline. The forest was completely silent, unnaturally silent. That night they sat around the fire when one of them suddenly looked toward the lake. Someone was standing knee deep in the water, a woman dressed in white. She wasn't moving, she wasn't speaking, she was simply staring at the fire. When the group grabbed flashlights and shined them across the lake, the woman was gone. Only gentle ripples remained. Later that night, one of the friends woke to hear someone knocking softly on the cabin door. 3 knocks, then silence. When he looked outside, no one was there. Only only wet footprints leading away from the porch toward the lake. The next morning, one member of the group was missing. Search teams spent 5 days combing the area. They found no body, no clothing, not evidence of an accident. Only a journal left behind in the cabin. Its final sentence read, "The water keeps calling my name." According to the Fear Keeper, Abysses never forces its victims into the depths. It doesn't need to. It whispers. It imitates the voices of people you trust. It creates reflections that should not exist. It fills your mind with the overwhelming certainty that someone needs your help. And by the time you realize the voice isn't real, the water has already claimed you. Those few who survive encounters with abysses often tell the same story. They dream of standing in waist deep water beneath a full moon. Everything is silent. They look down, the reflection smiles. They don't. Then the reflection slowly raises one hand and begins pulling them downward. They wake, gasping for air, their bed sheets soaked with sweat, and the unmistakable sound of water dripping somewhere in the room, even when every faucet is turned off. The Fear Keeper left only one warning inside Abyss's file. If the water calls your name, do not answer. And if your reflection smiles before you do, run. Tonight, here's a warning. Before you fall asleep, listen carefully. If you hear water dripping, count the drops. If they suddenly stop, don't look toward the nearest mirror, because somewhere beneath calm water, Abyss is waiting for the next person to answer its call. So here's the last thing I want to tell you guys. Sleep carefully, lost souls, and I'll see you next Wicked Wednesday, because fear has a face, and some are waiting beneath the surface.